I've coached a lot of people in your industry over the years, and what you do can be very, very challenging. And I would hopefully give you some tips or tricks today to be able to avoid burnout, or if you're in burnout, how to get out of burnout. I know what I'm talking about. I've done this 1,000 times with 1,000 people. The question is it going to work for you in your situation? And so hopefully 1 or 2 of these tips will be able to walk away to, 1, avoid burnout, and number 2, to be able to pull yourself out of burnout if you are in it from that perspective. A little bit of my background, I won't go into too much of it. I'm originally from northeast of Pennsylvania, was in Virginia for 30 years. I've now lived in Florida for now 6.5 years. My claim to fame, I built a B&I franchise, 2 of them in Central Virginia, from 0 members to 1,600 members in 6 short years. And in that time, I coached a lot of life insurance, health insurance, brokers, be able to build a better business so they can build a better life. So I know what it's like to be in your shoes, and hopefully I can, again, help you to get out of that. So the first thing, I noticed that open enrollment can be very, very stressful. I was working one of my health insurance brokers last year. Open enrollment was coming, and she said to me, "Yeah, this is not going to be fun." And I said, "Well, yeah, if you have that kind of attitude going into it, you're manifesting that experience, right?" I remember working with a CPA, and I was coaching her, and I said, you know, what I would love to see CPAs do, because they're very similar to you when it comes to taxes. If I were a CPA, what I would do is I would send an email out in November letting my clients know that we're coming to the end of the year. Would love to start getting your documents. If you want your taxes done early, feel free to bring them in sooner than later. And then I might have a holiday party or appreciation party in December, preferably January. Say, hey, we're having an appreciation party in January. If you want to get your taxes done early, bring them to the appreciation party and I'll get you scheduled. And then I would send an email on February 14th. You have 30 days if you want your taxes done on time and not an extension, blah, 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 blah. She says, well, that won't work. And she gave me like an attitude, like she was going to punch me. And I said to her, you know, yeah, if you have that kind of attitude, but it does work, and I know people who do it. If you don't want to do it, that's your choice, but don't tell me it doesn't work. It's better to be proactive than reactive if at all possible, right? So often we're reactive in our industries, and it's best if we're proactive. So long story short, a year later, I started getting emails from her in December and January and February, and I'm like, wow. She goes, I didn't do everything you told me, but I started doing some of the things to make it a lot easier. It's gonna be tough, don't get me wrong, but it can be less tough if you be proactive versus reactive. So how do you do that? So one of the first things that I would do if I were you is connect with your purpose and passion. Your why you do what you do. So some of you get into the business, you have this dream of making an impact, and then you get into open enrollment, you go, what the heck am I doing in this business? And I find so often that if we can reconnect to our purpose and passion, or if we don't have and create one, it makes life a lot easier, and you can push through just about anything. And I talk to a lot of property managers and why they do what they do, and number one answer is for a paycheck. And she shared with me, well, Jim, actually what I do, my purpose is helping people find the right home. They need to rent versus own. If they need to rent, I want to make sure that we find them a happy, healthy, and safe place to live. And that is the job that I do. On the flip side, I know another property manager who's an asset manager, and they help investors maximize their investments. I believe those two will make it huge or make it long in their industries because they have a purpose and passion beyond their position. And I'll add one other thing, is to be positive. Be positive. And that is not always easy in your industry. So I find if you have a purpose and passion, and you can turn that into being positive before you burn out, makes the biggest difference. And then when you're starting to burn out, remind yourself why you do what you do. I'll give you a good example. This is interesting. I didn't think I was going to talk about this. So I knew a person, her name is Linda, for confidentiality. She was in, she had a basket business. She put together baskets, and then she ended up selling that business. And then I ran into her again, and she started selling calendars, where you sell advertisement to the calendars, a lot of publications like Winter Park Magazine, you sell the ads, you publish it, stuff like that. And then the last time I saw her was she did merchant services, and she was taking my sales class on how to build their business through referrals. And I said to her, I said, what are you doing? She's like, well, I need health benefits because of my situation, and so that's why I'm doing merchant services, credit card processing. I said, you're gonna die. That's one of the worst industries you can get into because it's the most competitive, like, it'll kill you. I mean, you won't even benefit from the benefits. And I'm like, did I just say that out loud to her? Like, this is like, I think, session 2 of the class. But I really cared about her because she was an amazing woman. And she's like, man, he's like bumming me out. But I'm like, I know that industry. She is not going to survive. She doesn't have a purpose and passion. It's going to give her stress, and she could end up ruining her health even further. And that was it. I didn't see her for quite some time until it was a year later. I run into her. She goes, guess what I do? Guess what I do? Guess what I do? I'm like, I don't know, because I remember the last time we met. I'm like, you still want to talk to me, right? And she goes, I do health insurance. I sell health insurance for people. You know my situation. Now I get to help more people that are in my situation. I'm getting used to saying that, right? Go and think like a business owner. Think and act like a business owner. Are you building a business or are you building a job? Some of you are salespeople, solopreneurs, and you're okay with that. And if it were me and I were you, I would consider building a business. Not a big business necessary, but a business. Because most people have built jobs that they can't walk away from. They can't have a life beyond that job. Whereas I want to build a business. And so what you can do in building a business, there are 5 functions to a business. I would be able to get help in these areas. First, you want to bring in business. If you don't bring in business, you're not in business. You're not going to be in business. You then eventually get work done in the middle. Eventually you'll bring in more business, and then you'll need to hire, train, hopefully admin, finance people. And then if you have enough energy after enrollment, you want to create raving fans. So often what I find from tax accountants and CPAs, after tax season's over, you can't find them, right? When you get done with enrollment, we can't find you as well. That's a perfect opportunity after the fact to figure out how do you create raving fans? How do you follow up with your customers without talking about the products and services that you sold them and just checking in with them? Because I promise you, you'll get more referrals for next time, right? So start to build a business. And then if you're going to build a business, one of the things that I like to do is teaching my clients to divisionize it. I come along and said, hey, if it were me and I were you, I would divide your business up to small jobs, medium jobs, and large jobs. Why would I suggest someone to do that? Priority and organizations, exactly. That way you can then come up with a marketing plan around small jobs, a marketing plan around medium jobs, and then large jobs. You can hire based on small jobs, medium jobs, and large jobs. So I would have you consider building a business, not just a job. Or at least get yourself an assistant. If you want to own a business, get yourself an assistant. And then get an assistant for your assistant, and then get an assistant for your assistant's assistant, and so on and so on and so on. You'll be a CEO of a bunch of assistants. And I laughed at that, and now fast forward, I'm like, I get that. When I got my first assistant back in the 90s, my business grew. When I got a second person on my team, my business grew even more. And it went from there. Right? I didn't know that was a possibility. I just thought I was going to be reactive the rest of my life. I'm going to be struggling the rest of my life. But then when I started to figure out how to build a business and not a job and had the desire to do such, that's where I'm at today. So getting an assistant in these areas would help you to do that. A year later, I run into William and he goes, guess what I did? Guess what I did? I don't know. He goes, I got myself an assistant. I get what you're saying. I don't have to do the paperwork anymore. They do all that and I get to build the relationships. Because relationships is what brings the business in. I give them to do the paperwork. Obviously, I'll double check their paperwork. And then I can do what I love to do. They do what they love to do. Everybody wins. So the next way that you could do this to avoid burnout is to maximize your time and your energy. So that again, maximize your time and your energy. And there's ways of going about it. One of the things that I talk about is number 1 is the 5 functions of a business. If you go back to the 5 functions of a business, is if you take what's in your head and put it down on paper, that's the first start. There's a quote that goes, your brain is for thinking, not for storing. Your brain is for thinking, not for storing. Most of us run our lives in our heads. Most of us run our businesses in our heads. And so that became my journey to study time management, priority management, energy management. They made the world of difference. So that led to the second thing is your yield per hour. Determine how much your time is worth. If I had more time, I'd have you do an exercise that would write down how much do you want to make in a year, how many weeks a year do you want to work? Do you want to work 52 weeks, 50 weeks, 48 weeks? And then how many hours do you want to work? 80, 60, 50, 40. And then you do the math and you figure out how much your time is worth. And on average, a person's time when they do this exercise is worth at least $24 an hour, upwards to $75 an hour. Now, if you're a business owner, it's a lot more than that. So let's say you're worth $25 an hour, you figure out the math, or $75 an hour. The next step is to get rid of those things that are $5 an hour jobs, $10 an hour jobs, $15 an hour jobs, $18 an hour jobs. If you were like me, I did my own taxes because I wanted to save money. I didn't realize how much it cost me money. I don't know if you knew this, but when I did my own taxes, it took me 3 months to do my taxes. It took me 2.5 months of avoiding it, and then 2 weeks of doing it. And I was talking about this topic in one of my lunch talks in Virginia, and there was a woman who sat here all the time, Anita. So I called her the numbers ninja. And Anita would share her purpose and passion from time to time that she loves numbers. She loves receipts. She loves receipts because they're like puzzles. She goes, give me a bag of receipts and I am happy all day long. It's like a puzzle. And I'm thinking, I have a box of receipts. I don't have a bag, but I have a box. And I said, Anita, I think I want to delegate this $50 job to you. And within 2 weeks, she was done with it. Done. And I was blown away. And I asked myself, why did I hold on to that for so long? Why did I avoid it every year for 2.5 months and then 2 weeks of stress and getting it done? And so that began to ask myself, what else do I want to do, or it's not worth my time? Like, answering the phone is like a $15 an hour job easily. Other jobs up to $25 an hour. I should not be doing those things to save money because it's ultimately costing me money. So feel free to do this exercise, find out what you're worth. I find that you can then use that to give you the permission or the excuse to let go of some of the things you don't want to do. And the last thing that I do to maximize my time is I take what's called the sticky note effect. Like this, that I put my top priorities for the day. So I wake up in the morning, go to my desk and I say, okay, what do I need? What are my top priorities? If I didn't do it the night before, I do it that day. I write it down on the sticky note. There's 2 reasons. One, I have ADD. I think I do. I never check into it because I forget to check into it. So I get distracted a lot, right? And I forget where I left off. And so I can look down on my desk and say, okay, here I'm doing my profit and loss statement, or I'm doing prospect calls. So I know where I left off. The other reason why I use a sticky note, because it's only so big. I used to have lists to my lists. Right? And I never got the list, and I don't know about you, transfer the list to the next list to the list. This is real simple. You just move it anywhere you want. And so this is super helpful for me. One, again, I get distracted quite often because I will want to help someone and forget what I need to do for myself. And number 2, you can only put so much on the sticky note. Now, honestly, I have 2 sticky notes to every day. It is what I need to do today, and I wish I could get done today if I had a miracle happen. Right? Or I can't forget that I need to do X, Y, and Z. And so this is today, and this is in the near future, if not sooner. So that is another technique that I do to keep me on track so that I don't get overwhelmed and get behind. Any tool that you can do to do that, for me it is, again, organizing my thoughts into 5 functions if I have a business or want to build a business, getting rid of the things that are not worth my time or costing me money versus making me money, and then last but not least, prioritization and keeping me focused. Awesome. So often, what drains our brain is thinking about the future. What drains our brain even more, worrying about when we're going to get something done. Like, when am I going to get that done? What am I going to, go back to the post-it note. Yours probably will look like this. If you're reactive right now versus proactive, you'll have your priorities for the day, and then this, I really need to worry about these things. And your brain will be looking at the worrying ones versus the focused ones. Right? Your brain's like, I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I can't forget that. I can't drop the ball. I can't let that person down. So coming up with a routine, a regular schedule, makes a huge difference. Now, you're not going to get a perfect schedule, just for the record. You're just not. You want to work towards getting a more routine, more perfect schedule, or more proactive schedule than anything else. So here's an example of a calendar. When he came to me, he says, hey Jim, I just can't make my boss happy enough. And I'm not getting anything done, and I'm working over the weekends, and that's getting an effect on my family. Can you help me? And I said, well, let's create a block calendar. So we had a block calendar just like this. The problem was that she wasn't good at her paperwork, and she was messing up her paperwork, and so it was costing her commissions. So I don't recommend this much block of time, but since she was new to the industry, I made sure that she had enough time, and eventually you can then shorten the paperwork side of it and then turn it into 2 blocks, paperwork and follow-up. Right? So yeah, this is, again, where do I get things done? If I'm worried about when I'm going to get to my accounting, there's a slot for that. I'm worried about when I'm going to do X, there's a slot for that. So you don't have to worry about it, you know when that's going to happen. Now, at first you're going to worry about it until it becomes habit. Whatever I wanted to. Well, now B&I took it up, and so I didn't have that do it whatever you want to do time. That's why I was stressing, because I knew come Wednesday, I was worried about X. I'm like, oh, I have tomorrow morning, Thursday morning to get to that. Oh, I forgot to do this. I'll do that Thursday. Oh, I'm behind on such and such. I'll do that Thursday. So Thursday morning was my do whatever I want to do time. So when I took it to join B&I and be a member of B&I, I was like, I didn't replace that time. And so my stress level went through the roof. So now it's Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings. And actually, my Fridays are completely blocked off for me to do whatever I want to do, whether it's take a 3-day weekend, follow up on customers, throw in an extra appointment if I so choose to, or just get up some paperwork that I just want to get done. And then the last example is you'll see these things. What do you think those are? Yeah, I call them buffer time. Buffer time. So often, again, studying this for a long period of time, is that we do back-to-back appointments, and that's what burns us out. And there's no breaks, right? There's no buffers. So I would encourage you to get to this point. How do you get to this point? Is you start with one thing at a time. So that's what I would do. I pick one thing at a time, add a second thing, a third thing, and stop. Or 4, 5, 6, your choice. The only thing I recommend is do not block things back to back that are different thinking. So don't do accounting with marketing, with customer service, and prospecting. Your brain can't change that quickly without draining in